Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Femme Portfolio podcast. I'm your co-host, Bryn Bradshaw Mack.
And I'm Rachel Hirsch, and I am legit giddy because today we have my cousin, one of my best friends, and also brilliant, famous actress, Ali Cobrin on. Ali, will you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Ali Cobrin. I am Rachel's cousin. I'm an actress. I've been doing it since post high school. The things I would be like most well known for would be American Pie Reunion. And I'm currently on a TV show called The Baxters. There's 3 seasons on Amazon.
It's all over Amazon.
I play Carrie Baxter, and then there was a bunch in between.
She was also low-key on the cover of Maxim magazine. Like,
I was
she's
never on
done.
the cover.
Okay, well, in my mind, you were.
That is
That's
some
like
family
back
support
then.
that I love that. Ali, can you tell us how you got into acting in the first place? I need to know, like, truly, like, walk me through the journey.
I was actually thinking about this the other day, and it was specifically that like the Disney Channel. When we were kids, I don't know if everyone watched Disney Channel, but I
Of
watched Disney
course.
Channel and was like, I can do that. I want to do that, but I didn't know how. And like, how do you just like do it? So I was like, I grew up mostly like focusing on dance, and then I always just really wanted to act, but legitimately had no idea how. So I like took acting classes at my dance studio. Then I found like acting classes at other more like real acting studios in Chicago, where we and Rachel are from. One thing led to another. I went I went to like summer programs for musical theater. I did all those things, and then at 17 I moved to LA.
That is amazing. And did you know that you wanted to be in TV film? Did you want to be like on stage? Any combination, any way you could get it?
Any combination, absolutely. I still want to be on stage. I would die to do a play. My husband's a Broadway actor, and all my friends are Broadway actors, so I kind of feel like I let them do the musical theater stage stuff, and I stick to TV film. But I want to just at least audition for a play. I've never been auditioned.
Really? I didn't know this. I love this.
Yeah.
What was that's amazing that you went from literally watching Disney Channel saying, I can do that to going and doing it. What was your moment where it really felt like, wow, I made it? Was it any of the specific films you've been in, or it's ongoing?
There's been times where I feel like I'm a working actor. This is fantastic. And then there's so many times where it's like, oh my God, I need another job. Right now, currently, me and my husband are both working actors while we're raising our child. And we've said in the past like few weeks, we're like, this is the dream. Like this was the dream. And I guess like we're doing it like
You're living it.
literally right now. So
I
that's
love
been
this.
fun. But I would like the words I've made it, like
You've made it in my eyes. And I think you've played some iconic roles. Will you tell us like some behind the scenes moments that people would be totally surprised to hear?
oh wow. I'm like, what movie or what? I don't know. I don't know. So, like every set's very different. Some sets feel like very much. I don't want to say just a job because every single person on set is super passionate about what they're doing and the thing that they are doing to for the TV show or movie. But sometimes sets feel like very like business, like everyone's in their trailers constantly like kind of doing other things, like working on other things. And then sometimes sets feel fully like family and like no one's in their trailers, everyone's just like hanging out, and that feels like summer camp, and that's the most fun. Anyone who's ever made a movie or a TV show, they could probably say it's like camp.
That's an amazing analogy. What would you say is the difference, or like that you felt between being on films and being in this TV series?
Well, film, it's like it's not different, and it's really not different at all. And like the production schedule would be different. A TV show might take a week and a half per episode, or you're like on a week per episode, or you're block shooting, which means you shoot the whole season like a movie. So let's call it like a 4-hour movie, and then you're like shooting out locations, if that makes sense. Because a TV show you usually film in order, week by week per episode, but a movie would be shot completely out of order over the course of like however many, like three months maybe. So it's basically just that. I've guest starred on TV shows that did the week by week, but I've never had the full experience of being on a TV show where you receive your script and you're like, okay, this is what we're doing this week. And then you film it that week and then you get a new one and then you go to the table read and then I've never done that. Every TV show I've done randomly has been very bizarrely block shot, which is a fun mental challenge.
Yeah, I would get confused of knowing what's happened and I already get confused watching, nonetheless being in it.
No, exactly. Getting your mind wrapped around how to like shoot multiple episodes of television all at once in advance, like prepping is like it's a mind game and it's like it's a whole other skill. It's like has nothing to do with acting. It's like how do you prepare to be on set kind of thing.
I must ask this. What are your tips and tricks for memorizing lines? Because it sounds like you have to memorize a ton if you're doing batch recording of an entire season.
Yeah. I do a very specific thing that I've been doing since high school, which in high school it started using, oh my God, I'm like back in my day. It started off with like a cassette tape in a recorder and I had like a microphone.
You are aging yourself hard.
I know, like I legitimately could have used like a digital recording thing. I could have used like a computer, like with laptops, like people had that, but I did not. I had a tape recorder because it just made the most sense to me. So I put my tape in my tape recorder and then I record the other person's lines, giving myself gaps. Rachel, you're looking at me like I'm insane. Giving myself gaps.
I love it, but you are.
So I can practice my lines while listening to the other characters. And obviously now I use my phone. It's a voice note. And I do that all the time. It's also really helpful because then I could be like on the train and pop in earbuds and like go over something and just listen to the other person's lines and blah, blah, blah. But I just want to say that the tape recording thing started around 15 years old. And I also would like be in classes and I'd like record. If a teacher was like talking, I'd record what they say so I could like, listen to it later. So I had like all my cassette. Anyways, years later, I'm like 19. I should be using an iPhone. Like I should be using an iPhone. I still had my tape recorder and I had like plug-in like headphones.
This is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And like so my first job ever was this TV show called Look for Showtime. And I remember using my tape recorder like in the waiting room of the audition. And people must have looked at me like, is she okay? Like, oh, she's
sort of like how I'm looking at you right now.
I know. They're like, oh, I wonder if she needs like a phone to like call someone. Is she okay?
Okay, something that I don't know if everyone knows about you is you're also a total wellness fiend. And I've learned a lot from you over the years about hormone health, actually, which Dana Ariel, we should connect you all. But Hollywood,
I love her.
Hollywood can be so intense. How do you stay grounded and care for yourself in an industry that's like always on the go?
Yeah. So I think that's how I kind of fell into like my curiosity and interest about wellness, moving to LA at 17 years old. I don't really recommend it to anybody. Here I am thriving and surviving and thriving. But it's a thing I wouldn't recommend. Anyways, I moved to LA and was like, I'm vegan. So I actually was vegan for a decade. There was so many things, like the culture of fitness classes and working out and hiking. Oh, I also moved there and was like, I gotta run a marathon. So I spent my first 2 years running marathons, which is nuts. And from there,
but you grew up as a really avid runner. Yeah. She's very focused in her learning her lines, but she also grew up like that, just in dance and in running. You were incredibly dedicated and strict and structured.
Passive, like if there's like a thing I'm gonna do, I like narrow in and like make it sure I do that. Anyway, so being in LA and there was a lot of pressure. It was a different time. Again, I'm just aging myself. It was a very different time in Hollywood when I was 17. There's now a lot more grace for people and their bodies and what they look like and blah, blah, blah. There was not back then. And I just became an exercise-aholic and was like trying to figure out food things. All these years later, I have it all, like, it's like now I have good habits. I know how to eat for my body. I know how to take care of myself. I feel like wellness is all encompassing with like mind, like mental health, physical health, a lot of things all together. So yeah, now I have it all together. But back then it was really not together.
Can you talk us through? I heard something that was very interesting to me on you said I was vegan for 10 years, so I'm guessing now you're not. Can you talk us through deciding to stop being vegan and what that was like?
Yeah, so in this moment, I know hormone health, gut health, mental health, physical health, my body needs meat. 100% my body needs animal protein. Back then, I did not know that at all, and you never could have told me that. It like didn't make sense. But this Russian acting coach who I'd been seeing for years, and he turned, you know, if you become like very close with like an acting teacher or coach, he almost like turns into like a therapist type, whatever. You'll like come in and be like, I broke up with my boyfriend, and then it's like, he was like, I think you need to eat meat, and I can't do a Russian accent, so I'm not even gonna try. But he had a very thick Russian accent, and I was like, why? And I don't remember what he said. He also gave me other advice like, you know, you need to have a routine, and when you wake up and get out of bed, you need a routine in the morning to set yourself up for the day. And I was like, well, I just do whatever I need to do. And he was like, no, you know, anyway. So he told me I should eat meat, and I took it to heart, and then for the next several months tried like introducing meat into my diet, which was very difficult because I was very against it. And now I'm a full meat eater. Like I'll buy a steak and like cook it.
I love that transition. I think it's really important. I wanted to ask because I hope some listeners, I think there are a lot of people who are meat curious in the vegan community or in the vegetarian community. I had a friend who I was living with for a year, and she texted me one day saying, quite literally, I'm meat curious. And I helped her transition back into the meat eating world. And exactly that. Now she's buying herself steaks and cooking them. And I think, everyone, it's your own choices, but feeling
It's
empowered
your own
to
choices
transition
and it's
out.
what makes your body feel good. But also, it's like, it's hard. There's so much noise, there's so many trends. Like, everything is so trendy. Right now, I feel like actually steak and whole milk is trendy, which is so
Yeah, they are
annoying.
trendy.
I'm like, you guys, food's not a trend. Whereas, you know, there's times where vegan, macrobiotic, this, blah, 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 that's all like trendy. So.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about how wellness has changed for you in terms of like in the beginning it surely wasn't healthy
Yeah.
and a lot
It
of you
wasn't
had a lot
well.
of I love that.
It was
Your
unwell.
wellness wasn't
It
well.
was not well.
But I feel like that's also we learn and the science has changed from when we were young to now. It's reminding me a little bit about the Imogen episode. I don't know if you listened to that one, but she was on Britain's Next Top Model and she went through a lot of this too. And she's also a wellness fiend. But I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. I guess what's one thing about being an actress that people don't know or don't realize or totally have like misconceptions about?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. Specifically, when you mentioned Imogen, I remember she was like, I went in and someone told me my hips were 9 centimeters too wide and blah, 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 blah. And back then, those critiques were like legitimate. And it was like, well, fix it or you don't have the job. Whereas now, that person would actually like, you would be like, are you kidding me? Off. And then like, I think now it's really changed.
Wow.
But there's obviously parts of the industry that are very strict, obviously, like modeling. But now there's a whole plus size modeling world, and there's like different bodies and different everything. Anyways, when I was listening to her episode, I remember specifically it was the day one of my Maxim spreads came out in Maxim, and I was like running around to auditions and also running around to see my agent or something. It was a crazy day, but I didn't get a job. Someone said in my Maxim spread I was way too thin and I was getting way too thin, and this is like, it wasn't good.
None of their
And then
fucking
someone
business.
else on that same day, in result to something, said I was too fat.
The world is wild. No one needs to be commenting on anyone else's bodies. Full stop.
I mean, I was like modeling a lot back then too, but you would walk in and they'd be like measurements, and you would just be like giving legitimate measurements and whatever, and they'd be like, are your boobs real? Like, it was a whole weird like whatever, but it was that someone said I was too thin, and then like modeling I was still too fat, and I was like, I don't think I want to be a model.
Also, on that note, I think not only should we never be commenting on other people's physiques, but also a book never, whatever, don't judge a book by its cover. Like, I don't know where the order of events took place, but you could be your healthiest when someone says you're your thinnest. And like, I remember going through that. Like, I had really toxic habits and actually looked physically worse than when I had my healthiest habits. And then someone's going to come for me and say, you're too skinny. It's like, well, did you actually know this is like the most free I've been with my eating in my entire life type of thing? So I just
Yeah,
think it's a good reminder to just never comment because you really don't know where people are in the journey.
absolutely. Yeah.
Will you walk us through a little bit of your wellness routine? What are your non-negotiables? I was telling Bryn that when you lived in LA, you had on your fridge, like eating for your cycle, and
Yeah.
it taught me so much. So will you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I try not to be so obsessive. So like the chart I had on my fridge, I would like obey it when it was very convenient. And when I like absolutely couldn't, I couldn't. And then when I would try to add things in, specifically like the seed cycling. We don't need to get into that whole thing, but like eating different seeds during different weeks, etc. And then mostly like eating like really warm, heavy, and grounding foods in some parts of your cycle, and then eating like detox foods. And the word detox has been like ruined, but like like a lot of like salads and like lighter things just to like flush stuff out of your body. But that I would say is like very recent. That's been like 5 to 7 years, whatever. And it's amazing and I love it. My biggest wellness thing, I think specifically, and I started it when it was a trend, but I have done it every single day since, is celery juice.
I was going to say, I know exactly what she's about to say because she hard pushed it on me and it did nothing for me.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I
I
love it. I liked it.
love celery juice. I've done green juice my whole life, like especially when I was vegan, when I was first moved to LA, and everyone was drinking green juices, and everyone was drinking like there was like something where people were drinking like lemonade for like 14 days. Does anyone remember this?
I
Blueprint
remember that.
Blend. Is that what I'm thinking of?
I think so. It was like literally cayenne pepper and lemon and
Yes.
honey
Yes.
for like 2 weeks.
It was like trendy when I first started on Wall Street, when I first moved to New York, and I was working crazy hours. And I ordered it. I tried it. A bunch of people on my desk were doing it, and I literally almost died. I
That
had to
was
stop.
terrible. It was so terrible. Anyways, so but also like people are like, ooh, green juice, and like pick one up and start drinking. Like I would never put like a green juice in my body after I've like been eating normally throughout the day. Like I don't think it like works well that way. I like green juice on an empty stomach and like after a full night of not eating.
How has your wellness changed being a mom?
There's less time. But so then you like pare it down and get to the like what's important and what really matters. So I think now everything I do, I used to have more time to like play around with like ooh, I'm gonna go try like all these new workout classes. I want to go try this and this. But like now I know what works for me and what I need, and I only have so many hours in a day, and then so I just get done what is like necessary.
Anecdote there was when I went to visit her in New York. We have lived the same places and opposite schedules. It is something that I
Yeah,
hold
forever.
against her. But when I lived elsewhere and I went to visit her in New York, we went to Tracy Anderson, which Bryn, I don't know if you've ever been, but Allie and I
Heard
used to,
of, have not been. It costs too much money for me.
it costs an insane amount of money and it's an experience. Allie just kept going, just keep jumping, Rachel.
2 classes in a row. I think we did
Did
like a
we?
dance class
Yeah.
and then we did like a workout
And
class.
then we went to yoga later too.
And there was more working out that week.
We were nuts. All that to say, okay, how do you handle the stress and pressure, especially when you're preparing for big roles?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stress and pressure as an actor. I would say the stress and pressure is so much easier to manage when you're employed. Being an unemployed actress, the stress and pressure is like, am I good enough? Will I ever work again? What if that's the last time I like legitimately ever can do this? What am I gonna do now with my life? At least for me, that's how it is. So the stress and pressure, like right now, for instance, getting ready for my next job and like handling everything, I feel like lucky that I have all my wellness practice practices. I feel lucky that I know how I need to eat, and like I actually don't work out very heavy leading up to filming. It's like light because it's legitimately just for my mental health. But I do need to make sure I like get that like up until, and then also while on set, hours are crazy working. Like you could be like 14-hour days, and they also could be like all overnights. I've done weeks and weeks and weeks over the course of like a decade of overnight shoots, which is like literally makes you insane. So physical movement is very helpful when you're losing your mind because your body doesn't know what's happening.
You're cracking me up. What has the dynamic been like between you and your husband, both being in the industry? How's that balance? Just talk to us about that.
Sometimes what we do feels like miles and miles away, like feels very, very different. He is in rehearsals right now for a Broadway show that has yet to open. And like his whole rehearsal process, he'll come home and tell me about it and like the things they're doing. And I'm like, yeah, we don't get that. Like I have to prepare alone. I'm gonna like have a couple meetings with the director. I'm gonna have a couple meetings with my co-star. I think we're gonna get together for like rehearsal, but a rehearsal's like, it's not like legitimate rehearsal in the way you think when you like went to play practice when you were a kid. Like TV and film, you literally like show up, you block the scene, the cameras take their time to figure it out. You like go back to your trailer, hair, makeup, you come back, and then you like start going. A lot of things are very, very fast, especially TV. It's very interesting because what we do feels miles away. And I'll come home from set and tell him about stuff, and he asks questions, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what? But he, like, we just don't know. It's the same skill, it's the same artistry, it's the same passion, but it's like applied very differently.
It sounds like even just the dynamic of sharing, the post-work day and asking questions is very healthy. And I ask that being that sometimes when you work in the same space, it can be really hard to balance like having a work-life balance and not over talking about it, etc.
Oh, I don't, we over talk about it. Uh, it's like who we are, it's who we are, it's who we've been, always been. It's what we, there's no work life, like we would choose to not have work life balance if we could. Like the two of us just really, really love what we do and want
Yeah.
to do it as much as possible. And like having like, there's obviously a time where we're going to be like, hey, hold on, we need to like take some time to like be a family, the three of us. But right now I'm flying in and out a lot, and he's here. And then Rocky is our daughter. She's going to come with me for part of the time. She's going to stay here for part of the time. There's like back and forth. And I think like we're really excited and we really, really like it.
Can I ask a potentially dumb question? Bryn, you might know this and I'm sorry, but just because as you are explaining your differences between your day-to-day and Zach's, what is it actually like on set? Do you have like your wellness survival kit there? Can you eat the food you want to eat, or are you just sort of beholden to set?
So they have catering and they have crafty. And the difference between big productions and small productions is always going to be the food. And craft services, which is like, I don't know why they call it craft service. I've literally never known what that means, but it's literally just like a kitchen that feeds you all day. But it's separate from catering, whereas catering brings lunch, and then if you work overtime, dinner. Or actually, you always start with breakfast and lunch, but then if there's overtime, then they'll bring dinner as well. But I always do fine with catering and crafty. If crafty's bad, it's sometimes like a blessing. Like crafty would just be like, if it's just like chips and like junk food, it's like no one needs that. No one's like, that's not going to help you get through the day. And then in that case, I probably would like bring my own snacks. But most productions, that's happened very rarely. Like the craft services is legitimately amazing, and you can like fuel yourselves all day. As an actor, you're on set and it's like a lot of work, but you have to think about the crew members who are actually doing physical labor. And their hours are different. They could be getting there earlier, but they're doing physical labor at least for 12 hours, but I'd say more like 14 to 16.
If you weren't an actress, what would you be doing?
I think I really don't know, because I probably would have ended up doing it at some point over the years.
It's a great answer. Someone who chose the right career for themselves.
This is a hard industry to say I want to do this for the rest of my life, and I want to like, be able to have health insurance. I want to have like a roof over my head. I want to start a family. Like when you start adding like real adult life stuff to the equation, it's like, oh, that's a big ask to make like your passion when you were a kid. And you're like, oh, I want to be on TV. And then, decades later, you're like, okay, but how do I like actually do this and then like actually live a life as like an adult?
How has your career changed, or like your dynamic with your work and your husband's work as
Yeah.
having a child?
It's, I don't know. Okay, so I'm about to do my second movie that I've done since having Rocky. This is like a silly anecdote. It's not like really answering your question, but okay, so the last movie I did was in October. Rocky she just turned 1, and I booked the job, and I had a couple weeks, and I was like, I have so much to do. And I was like, I haven't gotten a haircut in like a year and a half. I haven't gotten my brows done 5 years. I was like, I need to get my roots touched up. I literally felt like I spent a week grooming myself just to arrive on set, and then they would take care of it from there. They're doing hair and makeup and wardrobe, and they're supposed to be doing all the grooming, but I was like, actually, I can't even show up at this level. So I guess my answer would be that having Rocky, I don't feel like I walk around camera ready as I used to be more camera ready.
That's super fair. And also probably freeing in some ways that you don't feel like you don't have the time to feel the pressure to have your brows done every week. Damn.
No, like no way. I remember specifically being on set of American Reunion, and Allison Hannigan, someone was talking about exercise or someone was talking about this, and Allison Hannigan, she had her kid with her, and she might have even had both or just one, I'm not sure, I don't remember, and she looked over and she's like, I remember when I used to work out before kids. And she's working nonstop, mostly TV, but films as well. And like, I think she was just like, what am I supposed to do? Go to work all day and then come home and then like also go work out? No, like I have my family. Like it's just, I'm not going to make it all happen.
Ali, I would love to know directionally. I know you said you have another movie coming up. I don't know what you can share, or just like goals you have over the next few years. Is there anything directionally you want to do that's really different than what you've done in the past? What does that look like from a career perspective?
I'm really open to a lot of things. I'm not really in a place where I would be like turning work away. But what I really want to do is a TV show that preferably shoots in New York.
What about LA?
Okay, honestly, that would be fine too. That would be difficult for my family.
You could move. Oh my gosh, all three of you could move in with me. How fun would that be?
Right. Zach has a career that like physically needs him to be in New York, so it's a little complicated. But no, honestly, that's the thing though. We are in a place in our careers and like with having a baby who's not in school and she's under the age of 2 that we could go anywhere. Like if I booked a show in Canada, me and Rocky could go there for however many months and he could come in and out, she could come in, it could be a whole thing. But specifically, so this is crazy. Recently I made a manifestation lists, and the first thing I put was a Christmas movie. I like essentially like a Hallmark Christmas movie or like whatever. I just was like, after Baxter's, it makes sense that I should be doing that. Like it's just
Totally.
obvious. Like where are these auditions? Where are these meetings? Because the first one that comes, like I'm ready for that job. Anyways, that's the job I got.
I love this so much.
Second on the list.
That is amazing. The power of manifesting is so real.
Right? So second on the list is a series that's shooting in LA actually. And I'm hoping to it's a show I really want to be on. But then third on the list was specifically New York television series, procedural, 22 episodes a year.
Not to be specific or anything.
Right. Not to be specific or anything.
I'm obsessed with all of these, primarily the LA ones, but I'm being selfish and I acknowledge that. If you could have dinner with any 3 wellness icons, or like you can ditch the wellness, just icons, past or present, who would they be?
Okay, 3 is a lot of people to
Pick one.
But number 1 is Gwyneth Paltrow.
I was hoping.
Because I am such a fan of her as an actress, and she was first and foremost an actress, and now she is like the epitome of like wellness.
She is you.
She's me. What?
Like that's you're an actress and your wellness fiend.
She like I could talk to her about 1 million things. Her acting career and how that's spanned over decades. She started a wellness
Empire.
empire, which is
Lifestyle community.
multiple, like being a business owner in that sense. It's also, yeah, it's a lifestyle, it's a brand, it's stores, it's everything. And it all like binds and intertwines. And I'm like, tell me everything.
So Gwenny, if you're listening, give Allie a
Give
ring.
us the secret.
You can totally come on the podcast too.
Message us. You
We'll
get
shoot you a DM. Don't worry.
shoot me a DM anytime you're available. They'll put you on their podcast, like day or night. They'll figure it out, and then also like we can get dinner.
Hey, are you going to encourage Rocky to try her rounds at acting or anything of the sort?
I'm gonna encourage everything, but I'm not like gonna be. So me and Zach have both done this our whole lives. There was a point where his parents were like, maybe he should like do play some sports, see if that like works. So like fifth and sixth grade, they made him like quit being in plays and doing all that, and then he had to like play basketball and he had to like play all the sports, and he was like, I don't want to do this. So then they let him go back to. Whereas I've always done like I did a lot of athletics as a kid, but essentially I'm so excited for when she can go to ballet class, gymnastics class, soccer, like whatever they have. Like I want her to do everything, and I'll take her lead on what she's interested in. What I'm very excited about is that if she's like anything like me and is like very focused on something, like I will fan that flame because like and real like I don't care what it is, but I will be so excited to like help her do that or make that possible for her.
That
You
is
are.
so amazing.
No.
I was going to say, especially for the career that you're in and that your husband's in, it takes so much grit to be in that environment and be in those roles. So,
Yeah.
as a mom, to be able to support her on whatever journeys she pursues, like really, especially if it's these really hard careers that don't have necessarily like a perfect plan ahead of them, that's just
Yeah.
really awesome. And
It
you guys are
also
great
would be
testaments
insane
to that.
though if she's just like I hope she's like a super intellectual and is like very like loves school, but then I want to make her sure she feels like well balanced and she has the extracurriculars that are other things. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, we like to end with, I think it's 5 questions that are like one word answers, one sentence answers. Really, we say one word, one sentence, and rarely does it happen like that, but I believe in you.
Give you one word.
Oh my God, look at you go. What is one thing you can't live without?
Celery juice.
Fair.
It's the
I
most
hear you.
specific one we've gotten so far. What keeps you grounded?
My husband.
Cute. Shout out, Zach. Who do you admire most?
The first thing that came to my mind was my mom.
Shout out, Peg. Peggy Joe is quite a woman. She is pretty spectacular. So shout out to her.
Yeah.
That's such a nice answer. What makes you feel wealthy?
Having a job.
Real.
As an actor, you spend a lot of time unemployed.
So fair. What is something few people know about you?
We kind of touched upon it, but I'm gonna like you said, like I was a runner. I was like a junior Olympic athlete as a child for track and field, and I was 7, like traveling the country to like run races, do the long jump. We like went to the junior Olympics. We like did all that stuff, which is so bizarre to think about that like 7-year-olds even have opportunities to do that. Obviously did it for a while, but I
That's
started
where you
at
got your
7.
grit.
Yeah.
That's
But
amazing.
like what 7-year-olds are like also like, well, I'm gonna go run and jump and like see what happens.
Ali, I had a question for you earlier that escaped me and it came back. And the question is, what's your advice to anyone listening from a relationship perspective as you're talking about, your husband's role is very in person here, you have new upcoming roles. What does that dynamic look like between the long days, potentially not being in the same place while also trying to raise a child? Like very practically, what do you do to keep your relationship going strong?
Well, I feel like for a couple who all of a sudden they're like, no, I'm going to go to the other side of the country and we have to visit each other, like that could throw a wrench in their relationship, everything that they like, that would be like difficult. We have been doing this since the beginning. He was doing a lot of theater, which took him away for a couple months at a time, and I was going up and visiting. So we have been doing this for, I think we've been together almost a decade, which is insane. So we've been doing this for a decade and it's changed. We used to have a 3-week rule, like we wanted to see each other every 3 weeks. Then it became expensive. So once it turned into 5 weeks, but now with Rocky, I think I got 7 days where I don't see her.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are
So rare.
formative times.
Yeah.
I
Is
mean, that's
his
really helpful. You guys have your like structures on your own and know how to work together very nicely, it
Yeah.
sounds.
And I don't
That's awesome.
mind distance. I think it's a little fun every once in a
Yeah,
while.
your
It
independence. You don't
really
have
is
to
because
stress
like
so much on the day
and
to
then the
day.
being independent is really nice. It's like the amount of things Zach does for me and like vice versa. But then when he disappears and I have to like figure my life out, I'm like, oh wow, this is
Yeah.
what being a person is. Like it's
Makes you very
interesting.
appreciative, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Ali, you've been such a pleasure. You are a ray of sunshine. I can clearly tell why you thrive as an actor and just so excited to see what you're up to next. We'll be manifesting for you on number 2 and 3 on your list. And just can't wait for this episode to come out. So thank you.
Thank you, Al. Can't wait to see you all next week.